Time yet again for the Farmweek Market Report. Zac Ashmore here to give you those monthly supply and demand numbers. What's it all about, Zac?
Thanks, Mike. Market's still growing, some corrections here and there, and the September WSDA report dropped. Let's take a look. Last week's biggest gain, soybeans, encouraged by continued China sales. Corn and wheat also up. More on that in a bit. Last week's biggest loss, lumber, $234 down. Looks like production is starting to meet demand. The September WSDA report dropped Friday to much anticipation. Weather a major factor in the numbers this time around, with drought and storms affecting harvest. Let's get into it. U.S. wheat supply unchanged while global supply increased, along with consumption and stocks. Predictions are a new global record of 770.5 million tons. U.S. corn outlook shows lower production due to weather issues, lower ethanol use due to lower fuel demands from COVID, larger exports, and lower ending stocks. World corn supply increased along with higher trade and lower ending stocks. U.S. rice shows lower beginning stocks but higher production, imports, and total use. Global rice supply reduced but production slightly increased. U.S. soybeans showing lower beginning stocks, supply, production, and ending stocks. Much of this also due to drought and storms. World supply shows higher production, exports, and ending stocks. U.S. red meat and poultry production lowered, pork and broilers dragging it down despite higher beef and turkey production. Beef imports raised while exports unchanged. Cattle and broiler price futures raised due to lower production with little change to hogs, turkeys, or eggs. Milk forecast higher due to more milk per cow produced. That also carries over to 2021 forecasts. And finally, U.S. cotton shows higher beginning stocks but lower production, exports, mill use, and ending stocks. World cotton shows lower beginning stocks, production, consumption, and ending stocks compared to last month, although world trade is slightly higher. Like I said earlier, wheat and corn growing in price. Market analyst Dan Heuber says the WSDA report kept to the facts, and these gains may not last for long.
Well, the wheat market acted as you would expect with a report like we had. Granted, there was nothing dramatic that came out of the wheat, but it was a reminder that wheat stocks globally are at record levels, and probably is going to be difficult to accelerate prices from here. Granted, with the discrepancy in the corn market rallying, is probably going to encourage a little more wheat feeding around the world. But outside of that, boy, the wheat market just does not have much of a story to even sustain these prices, or certainly move much higher from here. Corn number, I think, was reasonable, in both in taking the yield down and in taking the harvested acreage number down, which again, both of those were well anticipated by the trade. But also, I think this is a little bit of a wake-up call that, yes, we've had some problems around the globe. We know China has really stepped up their demand and will probably continue to be a very good buyer of corn here as we move into the months ahead. And we don't know if this is the last of the reductions, as far as we don't truly know what some of the damages were in Iowa, especially from the storms here last month. So, not that we're going to get carried away on the upside. I think as you start pushing December futures up into this upper 360 to a 370 range, you're going to meet a lot of resistance. And, let's not forget, you look out into next year, you've got the December 2021 crop, not that far below $4 a bushel here at this point. So, it's going to be probably met with some farm selling and resistance that way. Yes, the funds have kind of reversed course. We've got them on the long side of the corn market, but here again too, I think we have probably a limited capacity to move that significantly higher from where we stand.
Soybeans rising in price this past month, growing season at an end, harvest numbers beginning to come in. We're looking at next year's potential. To explain more, Dan Heuber.
We know that, when you get on a roll, you have to have momentum behind us. Funds have been very active buyers in the beans here for the last several weeks. I think as of the Commitment of Traders report this afternoon, I think you've got the managed money along 170-some thousand contracts. So, it's a lot easier or a lot more savvy to add to a winning position than a losing position. So, again, you've got the momentum behind it. Here again, that said, we are pushing, rallying against that $10 area. If you look even at the November contract, the entire range over the last several years, halfway back is right at this $10 mark. So yes, China has been a substantial buyer and probably will continue. But even before today, this market was just starting to act just a little bit weary. It was more grudgingly moving higher, although moving higher. So here again too, when I look at that soybean market, with the $10 staring us here, I think it's going to be difficult to really extend it a lot further than this with harvest in front of us. But even taking the report, yes, the numbers as far as yield, as far as production, we're right at maybe just a touch higher than what the trade was anticipating. That said, we're really predicating the next year on not only a decent crop here. I mean, that was still a record or close to a record bean yield that the USDA had predicted, but also they've upped the Brazilian yield for this coming year, the Brazilian production of the 2 million metric tons. So everybody's counting on a record Brazilian production for this coming season. And with La Nina in the cards, that could, bring a few concerns out there. We're not saying that necessarily will turn into a problem, but, the world definitely is counting on that Brazilian crop to be a record again. So, yes, there's a lot of question marks that are going to be remained unanswered for the next several months. And as long as China remains in there as a buyer, and for all intents and purposes, as they try to rebuild their hog and poultry herds, they're going to be strong buyers on the feed grains.
And that's it for a deeper look into the markets. Lots of activity, weather making a deep impact. I'll keep an eye on how that develops.